Ibra di testa, Tonali, gol! Sandro! Meritato! Sandro! Gol!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Mr. Reliable Anthony Torgrud.
What's up, guys? Glad to be back. Never miss a day, except for when I do. And we have a very special guest right there, Martino. I'm sure everyone knows
that
him.
worked out.
Yeah. Martino, it's first time on the podcast, kind of been like in the pipeline for a while, but it's a pleasure to have you on. We've swapped one M for a better M. So I think that would be a fair comment.
American for American, it's fair
Yeah, there you
swap. Glad to be on. Obviously known you guys for a while. I think the only other time we've actually spoken at length was probably Spaces at the apex of that era.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I just speak to Torgard like often. So
yeah.
Sorry to hear that. It's great to have you on. Good to have three of us. And we've got some actual meaningful game action to talk about, which is fantastic. The Serie A season is back. So yeah, we've got the first game of the season to recap. We've got a pretty big early season test to preview as well, and then we've got some great listener questions as well to go through. So this should be a good one. There's only one place to start really, and that is the beginning of our Serie A campaign. It wasn't technically the first game of the season because we were playing at the same time as Atalanta, where these were two that kicked off the season anyway. And we had Udinese at home. Now, we mentioned on the preview segment last week that this might be a tough game for us because we'd drawn our last three league fixtures 1-1 against Udinese, and nobody really knew what to expect from them this season. Still, nobody knows what to think of them because they changed head coach again to Andrea Sottil. And do you know what? As far as first games of the season go, last season was a 1-0 win over Sampdoria. This was good. I really enjoyed this. This was a fantastic game of football, and it was a good advert for Serie A. And we got the win, and that's the most important thing. It's never about necessarily the manner of getting the 3 points in the first game of the season. It's just about getting the result, and then hopefully the performances follow. But to say we were without Origi or Giroud to lead the front line, and to say that we chose to play Brahim as the attacking midfielder, things looked pretty good. I think it would be fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great game. Obviously, 4 goals in your opening game of the season is huge. I know you just said it doesn't matter how you get the 3 points, as long as you get the 3 points. I would argue in the beginning of the season, when you have an opportunity to rack up that goal difference, take it. That's why we're top of the table right now. Obviously, Atalanta won by a 2-goal margin as well, but we scored more. So, obviously first place, match
Stop
week
the
1.
count.
Doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, I tweeted that immediately. We're back. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Last week's podcast, I predicted a 2-1 victory, and I said we go down early and then bounce back. And 15 minutes in, I was spot on, and then about 45 minutes in, I was not. So it definitely was an exciting game, a lot of back and forth. It looked like, well, really both goals we conceded, but specifically the first one. I mean, they kicked off the ball. We didn't touch it until Macias headed it out for the corner, and then it just went straight in. Again, set piece is our weakness. It seems like we can't get rid of this no matter what season it is, but it seemed like they hadn't turned on yet. They weren't woken up, and an early kickoff, afternoon kickoff, it's always like kind of detrimental to us as a team. But they bounced back and they won. Then that's all that matters.
Those are the two things, though, that you always talk about. Afternoon games and Udinese is like the combination
exactly.
that absolutely everybody hates. This was kind of something that went back to even the last match day when we won the title. And I said this to a couple of friends. I was like, we're going to dominate Sassuolo today. And every amount of like PTSD or whatever, like shock that fans have that always make them nervous, I don't think that exists anymore. They went down in the first minute. I didn't even like feel anything. I was like, all right, fine.
I laughed.
We'll just like, yeah, I did laugh. I did laugh too.
It was Bacau.
Yeah.
It was
same guy.
Bacau, set piece, header immediately, where it just sucks the life out of, like the whole joyous occasion of, being in front of your fans after you just won the title in a decade. I thought it was just dominance. I didn't see anything outside of 2 stupid plays that I hope they don't happen again. But it always reminded me of the Kier post, or there was the graphic that Carlos always reposts that says all we do is concede shit goals, and it kind of fell in line with that again. But I have to say, outside of maybe Leao and maybe I forget who else was kind of poor at times. I guess Macias at times
Yeah.
was poor, but I thought everyone was really good.
Yeah, and I think Brahim specifically deserves some praise. With obviously the transfers that came in, Adley, CDK, you expected him to be second or third choice for the season, and he started the first game and he showed why. I
Techers,
don't.
man.
He looked great. I mean,
Looked
he
hungry.
definitely put on a little muscle in the off season,
Yeah.
and he's got that low center of gravity, and so he's not getting pushed off as much. But when he did get pushed off, he actually won free kicks finally, and then of course a goal and assist. So I mean, there's nothing more you could ask from an attacking midfielder other than a goal and an assist, and he got it. So good for him.
We've done a tactical analysis as always. Rohit did one today. We put it up on the site a few hours ago. We're recording this on a Monday afternoon, and there was quite an interesting point about Brahim's position. If you look at his average position on the pitch map, sort of most games last season he would be hugging the number 9, so he'd be playing very, very close to the number 9. Whereas we actually sort of lined up in a bit of a 4-3-3 in possession, where Brahim was playing deeper than usual. And you did notice that because he was getting further and further away from Wallace, who was their number 6, who was asked to basically pin him. And he couldn't get near him, and he kept dragging him out of position. And that's why we had so many dangerous opportunities, I think, to cut back low crosses towards the penalty spot. And that resulted, in a couple of moments where we caused carnage, including the first Rebic goal. But yeah, Brahim was really good. He's definitely a shout for top performer of the match. We'll come on to tops and flops to round off the game. But yeah, the first goal was frustrating, annoying that we let go of Becao again, because he scored twice against us in 6 games already, and both have been headers from corners. And he did it in Udinese's 1-0 win over us at the start of the 2019-20 season. So I'm annoyed that we didn't pick him up. I actually think that the goal probably had a positive effect on us, because if before we were going to go and perhaps try and feel Udinese out a little bit, see where the holes were in their system, the things that we could exploit, we didn't have a choice but to attack then from the second minute onwards. And I think that was good, because it basically allowed us to get onto the front foot straight away, and to equalise so quickly was good. I'm going to throw it out there because I've seen a lot of differing opinions on social media, as always happens. Do you boys think it was a penalty?
Yeah, I thought it was a clear penalty. He goes straight through Calabria's ankle. I do think Calabria should have got the tap in. I think it's his fault. It was a penalty more than anything. I think there's a big difference between drawing a foul and winning a penalty versus whatever happened with Calabria. Like, he made a mistake and it worked out in our favor, and so you're not going to fault him for it. But yeah, I mean, you can't go through someone's legs, and had Calabria hit the ball correctly, I don't think he would have went through his legs. So who knows what would have happened? But
that's the thing with the consistency of these calls. Like, every single time, someone always says, "Oh, he got a piece of the ball. He got a piece of the ball." Yeah, but he tore my leg off.
Yeah.
So what good is that if you don't hit it cleanly enough and it's inside the area? Again, if he hits it cleanly, it's not even a discussion. Again, that's the risk you take when you come inside with a tackle like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna try and risk something like that, you risk a penalty. Personally, I could go either way. I could kind of understand why they didn't think that, just because of the way he hit it. But again, if the initial video review is just going to go and the referee sees that mistake, he's going to change it. And also, it's not even the worst decision of the week.
No,
in this league.
Not even close.
The other one is the most scandalous one by far, and we're sitting here because we didn't get a penalty for the first time since Spezia, I believe it was, right?
January.
And again, even if we count, June and July as no months without a penalty, I thought it was a fair call. People just got to get over themselves. They can't cope with this winning that we do.
Well, and at the end of the day, you take that penalty out, we still won the game 3-2. So it doesn't
it didn't mean anything in the grand scheme of it.
No. I at the time of seeing it, live replays on the screen, we went to Milan Club Dublin, me and Stefano. Milan Club London to watch the game. Me and Stefano and Lorenzo, and I was seeing the replays live, and I was like, nah. Maybe it's just because I play as a defender, but I'm like, nah. I think that was incidental contact. I don't think you can penalise him for that. But having watched it back more and more, and with the narrative in the back of my mind that we got screwed so many times by the officials last season, yeah, we'll take that one. We'll take that one to the bank. And I knew Teo wasn't missing when he stepped up, and it was a really, really nice finish.
I actually forgot Teo was going to be taking penalties.
Yeah.
Like, when we got it, I was like, who takes this? We don't have Giroud. We don't have Kessie. I could not think of who was third. And because how many did Teo take last season? He took like 1 or 2, right?
He took a Venezia, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
He did.
And
He
then-
also missed one.
Yeah, dragged one wide against.
I think it was
Spezia?
Spezia. I
Oh,
think
it
it
might
was
have been
Spezia.
Spezia. Yeah, was it?
Because
that
that was the
Yeah.
difference. Because I remember telling people, I was like, okay, even if the goal was called off with Macias and they ended up scoring, hello dog. What the issue was is like we missed a penalty. If we missed that opportunity, we could change the whole tie and nullify the referee's decision. But again, yeah, I mean he's a fine penalty taker. He's got one of the best shooting techniques in the world. If people really want to give him credit for it.
Do we think
It's
he's going to
lasers.
be our main penalty taker rest of the season? I mean, I saw CDK took one in that preseason friendly.
Giroud, if he's fit,
Giroud,
I think he'll be the
I
man.
agree with that.
And I don't. Giroud hasn't missed one for us yet, has he? I don't think.
No.
But I don't think he's taken many. I think he's taken 3 or 4.
Cagliari last year when they beat them down in like the second match when Tonali scored a free kick, I remember he had a penalty in that one.
So yeah, it's nice problem to have. I think we've got a few good penalty taking candidates, to be honest. But yeah, it's just nice to get a penalty and to score it, and that puts us back on parity. And then to make it 2-1 not long after, we saw the first of a brace from Ante Rebic. Now, just as a general point on Rebic, I guess it's natural that there were a few people who were sceptical about him starting up front, given that Origi and Giroud have both struggled a bit with respective muscle problems and therefore hadn't trained with the squad in the build-up to the game. And with a team that play generally like Udinese do, with the new head coach, you never really know how they're going to line up, but generally they play pretty deep in a 5-3-2 off the ball. So I could understand the concerns about how we might not get the space that Rebic needs to operate to score goals and to be dangerous as a false nine. For me, it was as close to a perfect false nine performance as you're going to see. To be honest, I thought he was outstanding. He looked sharp. His movements were excellent. He was dragging defenders all over to create space. He took his 2 goals really well with the killer instinct that we've come to know from him. For me, just continued the great work from pre-season. He deserves a big shout out for me.
Yeah, no, I always have preferred Rebic down the middle. I don't like him on the wing. Our system fits a very fluid number 9, and Rebic is a wild boy. He's running around everywhere, and he gets in those dangerous spots and he puts it home. And honestly, yes, Giroud was our top goal scorer last season. We'll joint with Leao and obviously Zlatan, but I don't think their characteristics fit our system as well as someone like Rebic down the middle. And that's not to say Rebic should start over them. Maybe Origi in the near future, but I think. Well, and yeah, I was going to brag about that in a few minutes here because I've been calling that shit and getting reamed for it, and yeah, he obviously.
Oh, because a player's actual position when he plays at Liverpool. I mean, listen, I think the physicality part, and this is why I love the Origi signing too, is they're way better at pressing than our 70-year-old strikers.
Yeah,
that's going to be a massive thing to have. Even if they maybe aren't as good at finishing or making the proper runs all the time. I mean, if he could finish like that, then what else can you say? I thought he made a great run on the second goal. I thought it was fantastic where he looked to go there, and then the finish on the first one is great. That's not as easy as he made it look. It was a cross in the box, and his body's like leaning one direction. I thought he was amazing, and it's great to see. I think he's in the best shape he's been in since he's arrived. What I see personally.
Yeah, it was a difficult season for him last season. Let's be honest. With injury problems that he had, he seemingly couldn't string a few games together, which is what we know that Rebic needs. He is a confidence player. And sometimes I think for all that people have either poked fun or have been sceptical about the teams that we faced in pre-season, with Marseille, maybe Cologne being our toughest opponents, whereas like Inter and Juve are playing Barcelona's and stuff like that. Sometimes these constant beatdowns, no matter what the standard of opponent, can be good to get players into form. And Rebic was joint top scorer in pre-season, and he looks like he's confident again and he's firing. So he is definitely an added weapon, and we will come on to the Atalanta game to preview it, but it's a real dilemma now for Pioli, because how do you drop someone who started as a striker or started in that role and got a brace? My argument is you probably can't drop him. But yeah, that was the goal to make it 2-1. Sloppy equaliser just before the break. I wasn't necessarily worried. I think the timing of the equaliser just literally right on the stroke of half time could have knocked the stuffing out of us a little bit because we dominated the half. We felt like we deservedly got ourselves back in the lead, and then we switched off again for that one moment. And it was a great header by Messina, by the way. The stooping header. Maignan didn't really have a chance to get to that. And I guess, given how games have gone previously against Udinese, how things have gone sometimes at home in these games where we're looking to pick up 3 points, especially early in the season, might have thought that it could have rocked us, but it didn't. We came back out straight away in the second half, and we got that third goal. Delighted for Brahim Diaz. I mean, there's not much to say about this. It was a horrendous mix-up at the back post. They gave us this one.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I thought, full disclosure, they did, but the build-up was great to it,
Yeah.
I thought. The switch by Krunic was fantastic. And again, the guy's an unsung hero. You sign him for a number 10. The second straight season in a row, he starts in the double pivot, and he kills it. And then Teo's cross was good enough. It doesn't always have to hit the player inside the box as long as it causes chaos, which, they had a brain fart. I'll take it. But
and Brahim's positioning there as well. You've got to have an element of instinct to gamble and think one of these could fuck it up, and they did. And it dropped to him, and he I don't want to say put his body on the line like he was going to get clattered or anything, but he threw himself in there and said, "That's mine." So I like that. And then when we went 3-2 up, I thought surely they're not getting a third. I thought that might just be it. They threw a lot into that first half and trying to keep it then at 2-2, but it didn't happen. And then, Rebic got number 4 with, I guess, a similarly instinctive finish. Brahim getting his name on the assists column, which is nice to see, a goal and an assist for him. And Rebic gets himself a brace. And then it was the turn of the substitutes, really. We saw, obviously, Origi come on. We saw CDK come on. And it was just a nice closing out of the game.
CDK actually, he had a 5th goal. It just obviously didn't count because Origi was offside. But even in the build-up to that, you see the mobility of a guy like Origi and the link up with a guy like CDK. Once they're getting their starts and their full fitness, we're going to be a huge force to be reckoned with. I mean, you saw Origi gets that ball near the penalty spot, a little behind it, but his back's towards the goal, and he just knew where to find a player. Obviously, yes, he was offside, doesn't count, but the ability to do that in those quick moments like that, the quick thinking and the finishing from CDK, you can't ask for anything more. So
the pass he had where, Giroud can't make that run where he's like outside the 15, 18-yard box or whatever, but the pass was unbelievable. I thought it was fantastic. Just a real quick thing on the Brahim Diaz assist. I know it goes back a little bit, but did you guys see the other camera angle on Milan's main channel of it? The move he actually did to get that pass off is amazing.
Oh yeah, yes.
It actually was really impressive. I didn't realize it because of the camera, and the pressing itself, I thought as a unit is even improved compared to last season. You see Macias and Brahim, and again, maybe it's just conditioning first match of the season. You're going to get more tired with the condensed schedule. But the way they just swarmed and attacked right there was just amazing. And then the substitutes too. It's a lot of fun. Sorry, I backtracked a little bit, but
no, you're good. There's no structure on this podcast. Just
none at all. As much as I try. No, the Brahim and Macias thing is very interesting. It was picked out in the analysis actually that they kind of hunted as a pair. And that was really, really good to see because as much as Macias perhaps wasn't at his best in terms of when he was on the ball, that would be fair to say, his off the ball work was very good. And him and Brahim did seem to have that bit of synergy in terms of pressing and it did directly result in chances and in a goal. But yeah, do you know what? As Martino mentioned, I honestly don't think there's anybody that you can pick out as being bad. Now, Leao didn't have his most disruptive game, shall we say. I think that sort of in the first 25, 30 minutes, it looked obvious to me that they were trying to kind of double team him. And that maybe freed up a bit of space for the other forwards, which we then exploited, But it says a lot to me if we can score 4 goals without Leao contributing to any of them.
And I think, like you said, he was double covered at open space. So I think he inadvertently contributed to a lot of it by being last season's MVP, by giving that fear to every other team where they say, we need 2 defenders on this guy at all time, because what does that do? It frees up someone else. So yes, he didn't do anything on the ball himself to contribute, but I think just the fact that he was constantly under attack from those defenders does a lot for everyone else around us. Especially with a mobile striker like Rebic in there or like Origi will be, it's going to cause a lot of trouble. And eventually, teams are going to realize that and say, we can't double cover this guy. We have to have someone on everyone. And then one-on-one, Leao's the best. No one's beating him.
It's not even the most talented attack they could put out. Like, this is CDK in that position is a totally different outlook for a team that has to prepare. It's no disrespect to Brahim, who played great today. But like when you have CDK there and say they do upgrade the position, because I still think there's a little wiggle room for Ziyech to eventually maybe arrive at the end of the window. Like, the potential is endless, because when you have great defensive teams that play a low block, or sides like Inter, right, that can throw two defenders at you, and they're some of the best in the league, they're okay with having like a Brozovic just handle Brahim Diaz centrally. But when it's not Brahim Diaz, good luck when you're one-on-one versus CDK. Mm-hmm. And then you have Leao that's taking away all the attention from players. And again, he still has to grow and learn from that. He hasn't perfected okay, my options are limited. How do I contribute to the team? I think that even if he was poor, I'll take it if his poor matches in a game where we score 4.
Absolutely.
It says a lot. It says a lot.
Yeah. And we know that we needed to spread the attack a little bit more last season. Him and Giroud did kind of carry us through it with big goals in big moments. And us just having a bit more threat down the middle and hopefully out on the right as well. I would love to see Ziyech come in late in the window. We'll see if we've got the budget to do it. And another name that we haven't mentioned yet, because there simply wasn't really the opportunity, is Yassine Adli. He was one of the most positive notes from pre-season, and we didn't get to see anything of him, really. So that in itself shows how much depth we have. I mean, Gazzetta did a feature this morning about how we've sort of had problems in the number 10 and the number 9 role last season. And now we've got 3 options for each of those positions. So we have actually strengthened our depth that's available. And I mean, the only other thing that I can think of to mention from the game, because I've been watching it on loop for a while now, is that Kalulu intervention, shall we say, where Tomori does get burned. And then he manages to scamper over and cut the ball out. Now that to me is just absolute perfect.
Yeah,
beautiful.
And Deulofeu is a fast
defending
guy. So for Kalulu to cut him off like that, I'm shocked. I didn't think he had that kind of speed in it.
The timing, it has to be perfect. Every single with the decision to approach to make sure that the pass isn't sent, that they could finish it off. I mean, listen, I think he's better than Tomori right now. I'm not even kidding you. I do think that Tomori is great, and physically he's above him, but just pure raw defending, you can't teach that timing.
Do we think Tomori is experiencing the Salamaker's curse of renewing and then dropping form?
He didn't do anything wrong apart from that, to be honest, and it didn't even result in a goal.
No, it's just like maybe one other occasion, I think, where he lost the ball in the first half. But again, it's the old age, phrase. Like, if you don't have to say your name that often, it's probably a good thing. So
yeah, that's true.
The thing about the pair of them as well is they actually complement each other, not because they're different stylistically, but I think because they both like to play the same way. And Tomori was the one who pushed up to challenge the ball carrier, and that's exactly what you want him to do. You want him to be confident and aggressive, and he's not going to get it right 100 times out of 100. But because he's got someone equally as athletic and aggressive next to him, we knew that we weren't blown wide open because Kalulu was there to slide over and cover. And he cut out the passing lane perfectly at the same time as pursuing Deulofeu on the running behind. And yeah, it was fantastic to see. And yeah, 3 points to start the season. 4 goals, 3 points. Fantastic stuff. None of the rivals have dropped points yet. Juve play later. Napoli, if we can call them a title rival anymore, I don't know. But they're away at Verona. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on. But in terms of us and Inter, Roma, maybe throw Lazio in there, the teams that have played so far, we've probably looked the most convincing. Inter required a last-minute win against Lecce, who I thought was pretty good.
On the counter, Inter was getting exposed. That one goal that Lecce had, and then on top of it, just how, listen, all 3 points matter the same over the course of the season, right? There's not 3 points in theory that are more valuable, but they threw everybody just to get that second goal. Everybody. They subbed off Skriniar. They were putting on every single person possible just to get that. Maybe it's just, Lecce coming out with a different type of energy for the first match of the season, but
Well, and
I
find me
don't
one
know.
person who didn't predict Lecce to go down this season. And the fact it took
Yeah.
most
Agree.
people's Scudetto favorite till the last second, the 97th minute, to beat them, that's a worrying sign. I know it's early, but still, it's
Yeah.
worrying. And honestly, I thought Roma looked poor. I have them in my prediction as second. I have them much higher than most people. But after watching that game, I'm like, you know what? Maybe sixth place is right. They did not look good
Sixth.
either.
I think
Yeah.
poor finishing. They
Yeah.
created a lot of chances.
Yeah, I thought Dybala and Zaniolo specifically looked really bad. I think we might have dodged a bullet on both of them.
Shout out to Colombo, by the way, for center.
Yeah,
He had a
Yeah,
foul
yeah,
on. He had a foul on Hakan. I was gonna tweet something up, but I just didn't want to have any interrats in my mention. It just wasn't worth it at that point.
yeah.
Tweet it and mute it. That's the
That's
that's the motto.
So
Yeah, just to round off on the Udinese game then. Top and a flop. I'm going to go with Rebic for my top. I've waxed lyrical about him already for his movement and his finishing, and it is great to see him back in the goals, to be honest. If he can give us 10 goals a season, like he did do in his first 2 seasons with us, then we look something, quite formidable. Even if those goals are coming in the centre forward role, if they come in when he's rotated in as a left winger, or even if they're coming off the bench, a fit and firing Rebic is an asset to any team, especially us. So I'd go with him as my man of the match.
Did you want to do your flop now or no? You want to do top?
No, we'll do tops and then flops.
All right. Yeah, I think. Well, really, there's 3 choices for both. More like 2 for top. I mean, you could argue Calabria. He's definitely not mine, just because he had the penalty award and the assist. Rebic is the obvious one. But I'm gonna give it to Brahim just because I don't think he's gonna get another chance to be top this season. And what he did was really well, especially knowing that he's got 2 young, hungry, talented guys breathing down his neck that want that spot. Brahim did exactly what you have to do when your club brings in someone to replace you. You got to show why you're there, and I think he did that. So he's my top.
Mm-hmm.
I would give it to him as well. Just overall, I mean, the finishing by Rebic was great, but just creating, scoring, the pressing, the passing, I thought it was a complete match for him, which I'm happy. He looks physically a lot better again. Another player that looks way better shape because he was not the same after COVID last year. Let's say that.
No.
Yeah, first goal since 25th of September last year as well. So that
Was that the Spezia one?
Spezia, yeah. He scored 4 in the first 9 games of last season, and 3 of them were match winners. You could today's.
He was our first goal of last
Saturday's was
season, wasn't he?
Correct, yeah. Sampdoria.
Yeah.
There was the howler.
Yeah.
So he scored a winner in that, and technically this was a winner as well, since it was the goal to make it 3-2. So yeah, carries on a positive trend, definitely. Flop, tough one, because as I say, I don't think anyone stood out as being particularly dreadful. Not when you score 4 goals and win it. It's going to be tough to do that without all players contributing. I've got a feeling that you two might pick Macias, so I'm going to pick Leao, and I think that this is the only time that I'm going to pick him all season. I hope this is just a little bit of a slow start from him. Again, don't think he was awful by any means. Opening half hour, he tried to get on the ball, got himself in isolation a couple of times, and I just think that the final bit of decision making was lacking. But we know from last season that it is there once the gears start turning, I suppose. So I'll go with him.
Yeah, I think Leao's might be the obvious choice, but I think he's also a victim of his own high standard, just like Messi getting snubbed for the Ballon d'Or. I don't think it was that awful of a game from him. It just wasn't to what we're used to him. being the Serie A MVP last season, I think he kind of went into this expecting to just run rampant, and he didn't get to. So I think that might have knocked him down a peg or 2, and that's okay. That breeds hunger and determination, yada yada, all that bullshit. But I don't think he was necessarily the worst. I think there's an argument to be made about Macias, but I'm going to go with someone who I absolutely adore, one of my favorite players on the team, actually. But I'm going to go with Mike Mignon. I think he was sleeping on both goals, really. And overall, his passing wasn't good. I don't know his percentage of what he completed, but I would be shocked if it was above like 80%, which for a goalkeeper, most of the time he's hitting high 90s. I don't remember him making very many long passes, so it was an overall bad game from him. Yeah, there might have been one. But we still won, and he did make some saves, so it's not like he was god awful. It's just I'm gonna pick him.
Yeah, I actually have Leo, just relative to expectations, because your MVP, you want the top dollar in wages. I just expect a little bit more, and that's really what it is. It's just his expectation, but again, not as poor as Ali was saying. Like it's just a little different. The standard's different. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a good one to start the season. 6 goals, enjoyed that. It wasn't a usual cagey early season affair. Nice to see both teams wanting to go at it. I don't think Udinese will be in trouble this season, especially when you consider that they've got Beto to come back into the starting lineup. I think
Destiny was taking his medical for Spurs too.
Yeah,
I think he's coming back on loan though.
He is.
So that's good for them, and I think it's good for Spurs as well. It's a good signing for Spurs. But I think they'll be fine this season. There'll probably be a few teething problems, especially defensively with the new coach. But I just don't see them as a candidate for relegation. And it was nice to see a team come and try and actually play football. They've come and played very, very deep before. But yeah, I enjoyed that as an opening day spectacle. Now this should, on paper or at least in theory, be just as entertaining. On Sunday night, we travel. What is it, about 45 minutes to Bergamo to face off against Atalanta. Now, Atalanta, at least from what I've seen in terms of people's predictions heading into this season, have been like all over the place. Some people think that they might be down in mid-table because the Gasperini effect has fully worn off. Some people think that them not being in Europe is going to be helpful for them in their challenge to get back into the top 4. I put them in 5th, so it would be an improvement on last season. I still think their squad is actually not necessarily full of star names at all, but it's still conducive to the way that they want to play. And I think that they're not burnout did last year just because they don't have the same volume of games as other teams do. But yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Like, what do we expect from Atalanta this season?
Not much. I'm in
just
the
in
camp
general
that they're going to do pretty poor. Look, we've all had our suspicions about that club and how they ran, and then recently we had a couple things come to light as far as players taking steroids. So I think they're going to be kind of under a microscope right now because, with the Gasperini running them off, what was it, last season, saying you can't test us right now. I mean, that alone should have been a point deduction. Like, you can't deny a random drug test, but then the fact that over the summer a player tested positive, I think they're going to be definitely under the microscope. And so
after their worst season in years.
Yeah, exactly. So I think when you come off steroids, you do really bad, and I think everyone's going to kind of be off it for a cycle or two until the heat dies down, and you're going to see some injuries. You're going to see, I bet the Rune's probably going to pick up a big injury. Hatetabor might, Zapata might. I think you're going to see some people not.
Zapata
not
was hurt.
I thought he played. Didn't he play
last year? Sorry.
Oh, yes. Last year.
He missed it, and that was a big part of why they missed Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of a combination of both. I think once a week helps them, especially the way they play. But I also think this is kind of the long-term effects of when Papu Gomez is gone and you decided to side with Gasperini. Luis Muriel can't play that many minutes. I think that's been so obvious from the get-go. His knees can't handle it. Ilicic was also a big loss. Gosens in the long term is a big loss. Ranchuk, who I think they just sold to Torino, I think he scored yesterday. There's rumors of Malinowski leaving. Personally, I think they can't handle us. I think we're their matchup nightmare. And outside of, that 3-0 defeat where we were playing guys way out of position, I think was it Mete at the 10? That match where we lost 3-0 the year we finished 4th? It was one of the worst lineups I ever seen, and they should have won 3-0 in that one. They don't scare me personally. I think they're going to grab the Conference League spot from Fiorentina. I think losing Vlahovic for an entire season as opposed to getting that goal scoring for half a year is a big loss. I think they're going to be finishing in that last European spot. But as far as this match comes, I think they should be worried about us again.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't see anything. I mean, obviously, I didn't watch their game because it was going on at the same time as ours, but I was getting the notifications. And look, a lot of people have Sampdoria as a relegation team. I have them pretty damn close. I can't remember where I put them. I think it was like 15th or 16th, but they're awful. They're really awful. And it took them till the 97th minute to get 2 goals on them. And with a team like Atalanta who attacks the way they do, that should have been a 4-0, 5-0 game, easy. And maybe later in the season it would be. Maybe they're just not fully ready after preseason yet. Who knows? But that plays into our favor, whatever their issue is. I think going into next week, they're going to know, look, they've beaten the shit out of us like last 3 times Milan's played them. And I think it's going to be the four times in a row now.
Yeah, we seem to have kind of dispelled them being a bogey team for us, really. That win to seal the top 4 spot in the last game of the 2021 season.
I think it was greatly exaggerated that they were the book, but it was just
just like
justified,
2 or
though.
3 years. Yeah,
remember the Piontek goal when Ricardo Rodriguez sent the ball up like 60 yards,
Great,
and that finish was there, like unbelievable. That was the last good thing he did. That was like it was really just a 5-0 defeat, which was the lowest point of that 10-year stretch, and ever since then. They haven't worried me. Again, I tossed that out the window just like that one Juve match we lost in that same month where we had nobody. It was basically the C squad. And I was just like, I don't take much away from that. And if you're going to beat up on our bad players, I would hope a team that has aspirations of finishing top 4 would do so. So that's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, Atalanta's lineup for the win against Sampdoria was a 3-4-1-2. They've got Toloi was the goal scorer, but they've put Caleb Okoli in there as the central centre back now. I think he is a really, really big talent, but he's definitely going to take some time to adapt to being in Serie A because he was on loan. Where did he go on loan last season? I think it was a Serie B team he was on loan at last season. But yeah, big talent, but big shoes to fill as well. Then there was Hateboer and Myler as the wing backs, Koop Miners and Darun in a double pivot, Pasalic is a number 10, then Muriel and Zapata up front. You know what? It's just the Atalanta team. It's basically what we've come to know now. And yeah, maybe they have kind of run out of ideas under Gasperini. It'd be interesting to see if the pressure is dialed up on his job in general, if they don't hit the ground running this season, especially with not having Europe. But yeah, this game doesn't exactly strike fear into me either. I think that Pioli has figured out exactly how to play them. We've seen that in recent results in big games when the pressure's been on. That 2-0 game towards the back end of last season, it was the last home game of the season. That was really, really good. We were under serious pressure there. Yeah. We knew we needed to win to set it up. That could have been the day that we won the title, but obviously Inter then went and won at Cagliari. But we played them perfectly. I think that they maybe had one shot from Zapata, a spinning effort that went over and wide. But apart from that, to get in at half-time, 0-0, we didn't panic. We got the goal through an individual bit of quality, long ball, Leao touch, lovely finish, and then that Teo amazing run to seal it. It created a fantastic memory for us all.
And in the first leg of against Atalanta last season, we scored in the first minute with Calabria. So I mean, I think he always got him figured out.
That was really a 3-0 beatdown in that one. It was a stupid Macias handball and then just another scrappy bullshit goal and stoppage
I think
time.
it was Macias's debut as well. So it was
not
like he was.
Yeah, because I just remember Kareem just on the timeline couldn't stop berating the poor guy, and Torgrud's on the opposite side of the spectrum
with his money on the line. What would your starting lineups be for this? Is it a case of isn't broken, so don't try and fix it, or do you throw in a couple of the new guys? Do you put Giroud in, presuming he's fully fit? Do you give Origi the start? Adli, De Ketelaere?
I think it depends on Tonali. If Tonali is fit enough if he's fit enough to start, then do it over Brunic. And I would like to see CDK start. If he's not fully adapted yet, then whatever. Brahim's obviously shown that he's capable at the moment, or Adli. But I think CDK just brings that dynamism that Atalanta's already afraid of us from. and now you add in someone that they have no idea anything about, who's showing already in a little bit of time that we've had with him how great he is. I think, yeah, you just.
I don't think you start Tonali because of the Bologna Sassuolo fixtures are so close together. If he's progressing well, great. Don't force it, because we play about 21 matches prior to the World Cup starting, because we have to play all these Champions League matches and then the 15 in Serie A. And we start with that condensed part where it's Sassuolo on the 27th, or it's
Something like
Bologna,
that, yeah.
and then it's on the 30th we play midweek. So again, if we're kind of limited with that, I don't think you force in Tonali, because I think we've shown that the players that we could put in those spots are quality enough. So yeah, I do think Charles would start. I think Pioli's comments are kind of interesting when he says, I will play the best player that I deem for the best matchup. So
And I
even
like that.
even if Brahim played fantastic, if CDK is a better matchup against Atalanta, I think we see him start, because it was kind of telling that a player that arrived later on in CDK got 20 minutes over a player like Yassine Adli, who's arguably the best in the preseason, and he didn't feature at all. I think that kind of plays to the strength of, I know what I'm seeing in these warm-ups and these practices, that we have to carry out who is best. And I don't think we see Tonali for this. I do think Yassine plays a good bit of minutes. As far as Giroud, I think it's interesting with the number 9. I don't know what you guys think. I don't know what he's going to go with.
I wouldn't start Giroud. I think Rebic had a killer game. Reward him for that. And I think if Giroud, look, Giroud played like 16 games in a row at the end of last season, and he's going to be 36 years old. Give the guy a rest, Let him relax his legs a little bit. We don't need someone to blow a knee out again. We got too much of that on the team. So let him rest for a little bit more, unless we absolutely need it, but I don't think we do. So let him rest. Off topic, Sky News just said we're talking to Chelsea for Ziyech again, so that's nice.
Yeah, that was a great shout from Martino.
Good timing.
On the money, yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that was, not to discredit the earlier comment, but I do think that was fairly predictable, to be honest. I mean, they really do need rid of him. And we do still need a right winger. I think Messiah's performance was great in pre-season, but he showed it. And if we can add another string to the bow on the right, it's an absolute no-brainer, because they will sell him on loan.
The other link is United. And then after what we're seeing, it's like, why would he agree to this?
Well, and Sky just said United aren't doing it anymore, that the talks are done.
I don't blame them. They have Rabiot on their radar. Why not go for him? It makes sense.
Rabiot on the right wing. Bring it on. So we'll do a score prediction then before we move on to the questions. I think that we do get the win in this one. I don't think it's going to be quite as commanding a display as the 3-2, which, as Martino said, was basically 3-0 last season. Because, Atalanta are still a bit of an unknown quantity, and we showed that we can concede slack goals against a team that aren't necessarily going to be the best going forward. I hope that gets out of our system from now on. And we see a more solid defensive display. But for that reason, I can't see a clean sheet. But I'm going to go 2-1 to us.
See, I think it will be a clean sheet. I think the last few games of preseason, we conceded early and stupid. We did that against Udinese, and I think they're going to be yelled at all week about that. Like, stop letting in these shit goals. Kier's about to come back into the lineup. We're going to concede with him. We don't need to be doing that without him, too. So that's just some slander, because I know everyone loves him.
Big slander.
But no, I do think it'll be a clean sheet. I'm going to go 2-0. I think Atalanta played poorly last week. They're going to be a bit more match fit, but we're so much better of a team than Sampdoria that I don't think it's going to make a difference. I think they're going to get slaughtered.
6 yellow cards for Atalanta last week. That's telling with our pressing. And I know we don't stack up talent-wise with some of the greatest teams that we've had. But statistically and record-wise, we are one of the greatest road teams in the 21st century in this league. That continues. I think we smack them 3-0. Maybe 3-1. They get a stupid goal. Shit goals, So,
that's what we do.
So I think it'll be a professional one. Yeah.
Be interesting to see, and I don't want this to happen for obvious reasons, but it would be interesting to see how we react again if we go behind. And it would be interesting to see what position we're in the game going into the last 20 to 30 minutes, because not every game is going to be one where you can experiment and throw subs on just to be like, let's give them game time. Sometimes they're going to need to be targeted to make an impact. And they did make an impact, but Horses for courses, I suppose. Right, let's do some listener questions then. The first one comes from Noeze. Oh, no, I suppose it's Victor, actually, judging by his Twitter handle. Does scoring 4 goals past Udinese suggest we've overcome our goal-scoring issues, or do you think more is needed, especially on the right wing? We kind of just alluded to it, but let's dive into it now that the rumours actually come up again. If Ziyech is available on a loan with option to buy, then just do it. That would be my...
I think sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to go ahead there.
No, that's it.
But I think the biggest part of our goal-scoring issues towards the end of last season were simply Brahim Diaz was playing poorly. And that attacking midfielder role, if you're going to have the lineup that we have, that player, whoever is in the attacking mid, I'm not going to try and butcher some Italian words here, the attacking mid has to perform. They have to be that connection between the midfield and the forwards. And if he's not doing it, you're not going to score as much. He was doing it, and that's why we got 4. And now you put in CDK, who's going to do it as well. You put in Adley, who's going to do it. You're going to keep connecting more. You replace Macias with Ziyech, we're going to do it more. We're improving the areas that we were weak in, whether it's a new player or the old player getting better. So I think, yes, we are past that.
Yeah, I think so too. And this was like the funny thing that I mentioned prior to the start of last season was, top 4 is great. They played great in certain matches, like the last match against Atalanta to get into the top 4. Like that mental hurdle to get over that is great. They know what they need to do to win now. And that's dangerous for a young team that doesn't know any better, right? They don't understand the full pressures at times. There's always pressure playing at Milan. But now, when you have these guys, it's the youngest team ever to win the league. Mm-hmm. And they're that much better now. That's unbelievable. That is so scary. And they're only adding to it. Like, that's... I don't know, and they haven't gotten the number 9 yet. That's going to be like the guy.
And the other thing about our goal scoring drought, or whatever you want to call it, we're still scoring in every game. I mean, in the last 2 seasons, the only team we didn't 2 seasons ago we beat every single team in the league at least once. Last season, the only team we didn't beat at least once was Juve, and we drew twice. And that first game we should have won, but we had a really poor lineup. It was all second and third string, and we came on and equalized late. We're still scoring. It's not like we're getting blown out. No one's getting clean sheets against us.
People aren't in the ideology of modern football where it's your 9 doesn't have to give you all the goals. Mm-hmm. You can get goals from your wing. You can get goals from your 10, your right wing. There's midfielders that can create as well. There's just so many different angles that and players that you could score from. It doesn't have to be from one spot. And I think that's kind of where people fall in line because we haven't had a 20 goal scorer since Zlatan in 2011, 2012. He had 28 that year. We have it. The closest was Baca, I believe. I think he had like 18. So
yeah.
I've noticed we play kind of a very similar way to like a combination of Klopp and Pep. And I know that's like the highest praise you could give a guy like Pioli, but it is really true because Klopp doesn't utilize a 9 in the traditional sense, and neither do we. And Pep likes to have his fullbacks go inside instead of outside, and that's what we've been doing. That's where we've been finding the space, is Teo cutting in the center. That's how he made those coast to coast. That's how he's getting those long balls to Calabria, to Leao. I think we're playing a very modern football that, to be honest, Syria hasn't caught up to yet, and that's why I think we're doing so well.
Sachi's bang on when he says that we play the most international brand of football. Pioli's gone on record before as saying that he takes a lot of inspiration from how Hansi Flick's Bayern played, and you can actually see that if you line the 2 up. But yeah, it is refreshing to see us play so proactively and with actual structured pressing and all the stuff that other teams haven't yet caught up to. I mean, we look light years ahead of where Juve are now stylistically. To watch, we're more entertaining. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that never looked like it would be the case. So it's just another.
There was a good 6 years where Juve, that matchup, you said, well, that's 3 points drop no matter what. Like you wrote that off at the beginning of the season. Now, when I look at the lineup, I said, when do we get to beat the shit out of Juve? Like I know we're gonna win now. I don't expect
this could age so badly.
Oh, it's gonna.
Yeah, I might bookmark it myself.
They're gonna be this low block bullshit. Go ahead though. Sorry.
Yeah. We got a couple of questions from Stefano and Bart about Calabria. Is Calabria getting too much unnecessary hate from certain fans? And Bart asks, has he been looking shaky defensively? Yeah, I think he does get too much hate from fans. And it's become like trendy on Twitter to hate on Calabria. And I don't really understand that, because really he should be everything that we can get behind as a player. A boyhood fan of the club, came through the youth academy, but for some reason people are using that as a stick to beat him with, and I find it really bizarre. Is he an elite right back? No, he's not in the top 10 right backs in the world for me. He's probably in the top 30 or something like that. Is he good enough for where we want to be right now? Yeah, he is. He absolutely is. There may come a natural time, where it's obvious that we need to upgrade in that position in terms of athleticism, maybe in terms of defensive ability. But in terms of how we play right now, he's absolutely crucial to our system, to our balance, to our energy, everything. And he chips in the final third as well. So what more do people actually want?
Is this from our Stefano?
Yeah.
All right, then this question is a target at me, because I slate Calabria
really?
daily. It's got to be.
Yeah.
But no, look, I think the issue with Calabria, well, not the issue, but I think the issue that people create with Calabria is he's the only remnant of the banter era and prior on this squad. So I think it's easy to pick him out as someone who we've seen have seasons of poor performances, and now where we're no longer that bad team, he's still the only member who was on that team. So it's easy to scapegoat him. And he does still make a lot of errors. Like I think when I call him out, I'm not being hyperbolic or anything. I do think he makes mistakes, and we've been caught on a lot of them. But is he good enough for now? Yeah. I mean, I can't think of a right back that's realistic for us to go out and sign who would start above him. Obviously there are right backs better, but not that are within our grasp. And it's not like it's a position that we really need. It's the main upgrade we need is that right wing still.
Yeah.
I think our defense is solid. We were the best defense in the league last season. So, whether there's a weak spot in that defense or not, I don't think it needs to be addressed right now. And Calabria, for the time being, has that spot on lockdown. I think the other issue is Kalulu was originally signed to be a right back. He's been playing center back. He's been doing so well that people think Kier's back, slot him in there, move Kalulu out right. And that might be options in some games in the future, but I think we're giving Kier too much credit for coming back at his age for that injury. We don't know how he's going to look. He might come back and be really bad. So I don't think that's a good solution. I think keep Calabria where he's at for now.
Yeah.
I think he gets a little bit too much hate at times. I have just higher standards just because I just want to see us win our 8th UCL.
Yeah.
And every time I look at the lineup, I kind of say, okay, who would be starting on a team that would lift that trophy? And he's just not one of those players, and that's okay. And I think it'll be an opportunistic thing for the club if they want to consider getting someone else, because they were linked with Mazzari, who went to Bayern. So it's not like they're not looking. I probably butchered his name, so I apologize. But again, I think they would look for it. But for now, Florenzi Calabria is perfectly fine with me. And if Kalulu needs to be that emergency player, then so be it. I'm fine with it for this season.
Yeah, we've got 2 of the 3 best Italian right backs, and that's a pretty good position to be in, to be honest.
True.
But yeah, I totally agree with both your sentiments there. Boss85 asks, is our back 4 too short, especially Tomalulu? Is that what we're going with, Tomalulu?
I don't like that.
I don't like it. It sounds a bit like a Disney character or something. I don't know.
It's just like one of those random islands off of Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's what it sounds like.
Honolulu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else would be Kamori? That sounds like an STD.
Yeah,
no, that doesn't sound good at all.
I think Kamori sounds like a Japanese sword. Like, he's got a Kamori.
Or a sushi. I don't know. It doesn't. That's a hard one to pair up names, but regardless, I'll call it Kamori. I don't even know.
Pikayo?
Oh, we're still on the names? Okay.
Yeah, I don't usually do that stuff, to be honest with you. I just call them, it's just Pierre and Fick, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I got no time to think of that stuff.
Anyway, apparently we concede too many headers. Yeah.
But you know what? That didn't matter. Even when we had Mexis, who was pretty damn tall, we conceded headers all the time. Like, we always are conceding from set.
But they weren't even at fault for these 2. It wasn't even on them.
Yeah,
it was Macias's ball watching in the derby when Perisic scored that one. It was literally no one marking him. Mm-hmm. And then I think it was Rebic was on Pacao there. I think overall it's an issue, but those
I do think we need to do something about Macias defending these corners, because he's a winger. He's not a defender, so I don't fault him for being really bad at it. But at the same time, why is it constantly him in the position who needs to be defending the guy who gets the ball that scores? It's time and time again, and he shouldn't be the one who's there. And that's my issue. Not that he's unable to do it, because that's not his skill set. We didn't sign him to defend corners. but why is this the guy we always place in that one spot? I don't know. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm just happy to see you two sticking up for the shorter guys. Very, very noble of you, but
I have to. This is my seat is raised as high as it is right now.
if Maddie was here, he'd be saying that AJ has to as well.
Yeah, Maddie was like a quarter inch taller than me, and ever since I've been, a garden gnome to him, and I'm like, okay, man.
Yeah, funny narrative. We kind of touched a little bit on this. The Magnifico asks, should Diaz be dropped after that amazing performance? Should Rebic continue in the role of striker? If I had to make a call on it right now, I wouldn't change Rebic being up front, because I actually think that matchup-wise, he could be good against Atalanta, because he could just he could really ask some questions of Akoli, who he's going to need a bit of time. Obviously, he's had the entire pre-season with them. He's come through the youth system at Atalanta from a certain point. And he is a big talent, don't get me wrong. He's an Italy under-21 international for a reason. But I like the idea of Rebic asking questions of him with his smart movement, whereas Giroud might be a bit more static. And I don't think Origi's ready to start just yet. I'm glad we saw him for some minutes, but he's been out a while, man. He's been out a long time, so the time will come for those to start. Then, as for Brahim Diaz, I'm going to pussy out and not make a call. I don't know. Can you drop him after that?
Yeah,
Probably
and I'll tell you
yeah.
why. Atalanta's going to field a 3-4-2-1. That's 7 players to push over little Brahim. CDK is 6'4", 6'5". He's a big boy. Like, he could get around those 7 players a lot easier than Brahim will. I think Brahim's movement was fantastic. His performance was great. It was top-notch. It is deserving of starting positions, but like Martino said earlier, Pioli said he's going to start the best guy for each matchup, and I believe a guy with CDK stature is so much better suited to go up against essentially 7 defenders in that 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-1-2 formation that I just don't see Brahim having any success going up against that many guys.
I would agree with that. I'm just gonna do it like that. I'm not gonna say anything else.
I'm guessing out of the double pivot that Atalanta will play, and it's not a conventional double pivot either, considering how much they move about and stuff. 6'1" Martin de Roon would be the tallest that they have, and Coop Miners isn't that big either. So we could have the edge there, to be honest. But if you're fielding CDK, you're probably going to try and get him on the end of crosses and stuff like that. That's
Coop Miners is better moving forward anyways. I don't think he's that type of player that's able to sit back and man mark throughout 90 minutes. I don't think that's the type of strategy that they would be fielding. I think he's really good, by the way, just full discretion. I think he's a really good player. I like him.
Yeah. We'll do one final question. No, in fact, what we'll do is we'll talk about the rumours. We are no closer to signing a central midfielder by the sounds of it. We've kind of spoken at length about this before, AJ and stuff. But Martino, who would you like to see come in to make this a 10 out of 10 transfer window?
From any position, or
then just go centre back and centre mid, because those seems to be the ones that we're focusing on most. It's tough because these names get pulled out of a hat every day, and we don't know what is concrete and what isn't. I mean, we were told that we were going to accelerate for Rafael Onyedika after Midtjylland got knocked out of Europe, and it didn't happen, even though he's only worth 7 million. And people who have watched him say that he's actually a bit raw, very raw, in fact, and probably isn't ready for us just yet. And we keep being linked with Seko Fofana, who's the opposite end of the spectrum. He's probably a 30 million euro player who scores goals and is proven in Serie A already. So it's, tough one.
I'm always of the belief that this management won't say anything. I was telling Torgrid this prior to the show. Like, they don't say anything. They will not leak a bit of information. I have no clue for center back. Just straight up. I don't know who they're going to go with. I don't know of a great target that they could. I would think Ndika is at the top of their list. But for me, I think the dark horse for midfield, if they were to choose to accept an obligation, which I think they would be reluctant to, would be Fratesi from Sassuolo.
Yeah, he'd be good.
I think the quoted price would be interesting because Roma has the resale percentage, and that would go back to them there. And I think Sassuolo really offloaded a good amount of their players. I think that would be the dark horse for there. I don't see anything. I think it's just going to be a loan type of deal. I really do. Their hands are tied. I really think they push for a big reinvestment in January when things are officially taken over with new ownership. Because really, What we've spent this summer has been wage cuts, winning the Scudetto, and the Champions League prize pool
Haugen money as well. Like that was 12 mil
as well.
You know,
And he's going out on loan, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah, he went to Genk,
Yes.
like that? Yeah.
Ghent, yeah.
Yeah, Ghent.
I'm going to see Eintracht Frankfurt in like 2 weeks, and he's not going to be there, so that's a bit
That's all right.
disappointing. But yeah,
Sorry, so I had no answer.
yeah.
Just
The
Ziyech,
Indica
I
thing's
see.
interesting. Anto Vitiello said that he's going to stay for the last year of his contract at Frankfurt, and then we're going to try and sign him on a free transfer. That, to me, is a no-brainer. I know, AJ, we've spoken about him, and some of his defending is very suspect at times. That would be fair to say. But name me a centre-back that looks good against Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. They're pretty good. But
I mean,
on
I've
a
only
free
seen
transfer,
Indica-
the risks are much less. But yeah, sorry, go on.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, I've only seen Indica play twice, and it was a 6-1 thrashing from Bayern Munich, and then whatever the goal margin loss against Real Madrid. Those are the two best teams in the world. So my sample size is probably the highest caliber, and my argument I made to Ollie is a bit of a joke, but also it is kind of serious too. Is like, if you look as bad as he did against the two best teams in the world, then why do we want him as a team who's aspiring to eventually be on that top level? We're not there now, and he might help us a lot along the way, but
yeah, he's only 22, I suppose.
if the price tag is what it is now, why do it when you could wait for him to be a free 6 months down the line, sign a pre-contract? And also, we had the best defense in the league. We don't need more defenders. You know, I don't think that's necessary. I think our midfield's fine. I think a lot of people are overplaying the absence of Kessie when we brought in Adley on loan. We knew that we were getting him in, and Pobega as well, who, got hurt and had an okay season at Torino, but I don't think he's bad as people think. I think we've reinforced both those slots, as well as with CDK. We've done something beneficial in every part of the field. The only area that I think needs more work is the right wing, and if Ziyech is available for £7 million, so what, 9.5, 10 million euros, if we're still discussing it, we might be able to talk that down. They're trying to make a couple more big moves as Chelsea, so if they need to settle for 6-7 million, I don't see why they wouldn't. And I think that's the market opportunity the last day. Like Martino said, we're not really putting anything out there in the media. There's no way we're just going on vacation with a month left in the window. You know, we're not doing that. So I think that's the move that's most likely to happen. Yeah.
And also, if we sign Ziyech on a permanent deal now, we will be able to use the growth decree, which we wouldn't be able to do from a 1 year loan. So that could be an additional factor. But yeah, we'll see. A couple of weeks left on the window. Big game coming up next week. So it's all fun and games, especially for me, who has to be on 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. every day covering this team.
Well, just like a side note, I know Jerry hasn't officially taken over the club, but he does know Todd Bowley personally. So there's no laws, as far as I know, or football rules that say you can't have a discussion prior to taking over a team about stuff like that.
Well, you see agent intermediaries all the time that aren't connected to a player. Why not?
They work together with the Dodgers. These are two like the smartest people working and stuff. The Dodgers are arguably the best run organization in American sports right now. So the guy isn't stupid.
Just to go back to Chelsea, Fab just said that they're proposing a bid for Cesare Cassidy from Inter.
Yeah, he's
that's
good.
15 mil right there. That's what he's saying was what Inter want. Plus, they're heavily linked to Aubameyang right now. So that's two more big players, and I think they were preparing
Fofana for 80 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of fucking money, and you got to kind of get some of that back. So
when we were linked with Fofana, thought that he wasn't worth like 25 mil.
I don't think he's worth what they'll pay, but
he's not an 80 million pound player, but he's been good. He's been good. Also, one interesting thing from yesterday, Core Sports said that we turned down the chance to sign Cristiano Ronaldo because he earns quite a lot on wages.
Yeah, no surprise there.
So that was a fun one. That was fun to read. Nobody wants him, which is about right, really.
Except for Rabiot. Rabiot wants to reunite.
Yeah.
Sure, he's thrilled. And Morata. Aren't they linked with Morata as well?
Correct, yeah.
No, he's not good.
No.
But
poor Ronaldo, though. He just can't get rid of those trash players.
Poor Ronaldo, right? Making his own decisions.
How dare he suffer the consequences of his own actions?
Yeah.
Not the first time. So,
yeah, that's it. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much if you listened all the way. Drop a like, comment below. Subscribe to us if you haven't. That would all be fantastic. Check out our merchandise on Redbubble. All sales go back to helping what we do. So really appreciate you if you've bought some of our merch. And yeah, as mentioned, we'll be back in a week's time to recap the Atalanta game. Look ahead to what is to come. Yeah, find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. AJ, thanks for joining.
Yep, as always, I'm here. Can't wait for next week's when we get to talk about being top of the table with 6 points. And yeah, thanks, Martino, for joining us. I know you were a very hotly requested name in the comment section, so glad we finally got that done.
Well, that's bullshit.
No, you really were.
When was
No,
this?
I think AJ had a few burner accounts, and he was just commenting, "Get Martino."
No, a few people did, quite a few, and it was
a few people did say to get you on. Yeah, that's true.
Glad to know that's not a lie. So, cool.
But no, thank you for hopping on. Hopefully, first of a few times this season, maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah, no, it was great being on. I appreciate it. Literally, my name's everywhere that you could find them for social media stuff. If you allow me to get that plug in real quick. So I appreciate you guys having me on last minute. It's great talk. Don't get to do this that much anymore about Milan, really. Just besides like Twitter rants, so it's good.
Yeah, that's it. That's all of us, actually, probably. Yeah, thank you very much for listening, everyone.
Eccolo Ante in area di rigore, Ante, vibra, gol! Vediamo se è buono, ce lo dà buono,